Hello friends, this video on data handling part 9 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So let us make a frequency distribution table. So we will make use of tally marks here. A group of students were asked to say which animal they would like most to have as a pet. The results are given below. Now there were a fixed number of students in a class, and let's say that they were asked this question. So the first student said dog, second one said cat, third cat, fish, cat, rabbit, dog, cat, rabbit, dog, and so on. Now what do you observe? So looking at this data that is given here, what do you observe? You observe that there are certain entries which are getting repeated over and again. For example, cat. It exists here, 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 here. And what does that mean? That means that multiple students have told that they would like to have a cat as their pet. And the same is true for other animals as well, because we do see that many animals are getting repeated again and again. So let us first make a list of all the unique entries. So what are the various options that are being chosen by the students? So let us list down the name of all those animals. So dog, cat, fish, rabbit, and cow. So these are the animals that we see in this entire set of data. So there is nothing else other than these animals. Fine. So now once we know this, what we need to do in order to make a frequency distribution table, we need to find how many times each of these entries get repeated. Now when you look at this huge set of data, it is very difficult to directly count the frequency. So what we do, we first write their tally marks. So let's say the second column is for tally marks. So let's talk about dog. So the first entry is a dog. Again, this entry is a dog. Again, this is a dog. This is again dog 2 times. So 1, 2. Again a dog. You again have a dog. Again a dog. Dog and dog 2 more times. So 1, 2. Similarly, let's do it for cat. And in cat also we see that there are 10 entries for cat. For fish, rabbit, cow. So for all of these, as we keep counting, wherever we come across a cat or a cow or whichever entry we are counting, we just keep on making these lines. Now once you have drawn all the lines, now it is very easy to find out their frequency, because one set of these lines is nothing but 5. So it is basically 5 plus 5, that is 10. Similarly here also it is 5 plus 5, that is 10. This is 3, this is 4, and this is 1. So this is how we made a frequency distribution table. So let us now talk about grouped frequency distribution table. Now when we already have something like frequency distribution table, why do we need something like grouped frequency distribution table at all? So what is the need of having a grouped frequency distribution table? So this table gives the number of entries in a particular group. So basically here data is represented in groups. Now the idea of grouped frequency distribution table might not be clear only with this statement, that how is data represented in groups? Why is data represented in groups? So let us take an example. Let us suppose that there are 10 students in a class, and the score of these students are as given on the screen. Now let's say the names of the students are A, B, C, D, E, and so on, and their scores respectively are 90, 80, 81, 42, and so on. So these are the scores of the 10 students in the class. Now you must be knowing that in a real classroom there are a lot more than 10 students. There might be 60 students, there might be 100 students. Now for all those students you might have their different scores. Now if you look at this data, what do you observe? You observe that the scores, they hardly repeat. So most of the scores, for the frequency of most of the scores is 1. That is, they are not getting repeated. They exist only once. For example, how many times do you see 90? It is just once. How many times do you see 80? Again, 80 is also occurring only once. So in this case, the frequency of most of the data is 1. Right? So now if we think of creating a frequency distribution table like how we were creating before, so do you think that it will have much benefit? Not really, because the frequency distribution table is helpful when a particular entry is getting repeated multiple number of times. Only then we have the concept of frequency. But here it is not getting repeated over and again. So what do we do? So in this case, we create groups. Now, what do we mean by groups? So, how do we create groups? Now, what we do is we say that, okay, fine, let us find out the number of students who have scored below 40. So, less than 40 is one group. Again, let us try to find out all those who scored somewhere between 40 and 60. Again, let's find those who scored somewhere between 60 and 80. Again, let's find those who scored somewhere between 80 and 100. So what are these? These are nothing but groups. So now when you ask that how many students scored less than 40. So how many students scored less than 40? Maybe 1. How many scored between 40 and 60? Maybe 2. How many scored between 60 and 80? Maybe 3. So now you have frequency for each group. So even though a particular entry did not get repeated over and again, what did we do? We created a group. So we said, okay, maybe only one student scored 42. But when I say how many students scored between 40 and 60, then those who scored 42, those who scored 45, they came together. So we got that there are 2 students who scored between 40 and 60. So in such scenarios, we introduce this concept of group. So, and this is called a grouped frequency distribution table. So here also we will make use of tally marks like we made before. Here also we will have a column for frequency. It is just that in this case we will have a column. The first column will be for group. So we basically group the data. So we put the data into groups. Like here the groups are 40 to 60 is a group, 60 to 80 is a group, 80 to 100 is a group. So in this way we will divide the entire set of data into groups and then create the frequency distribution table. That is why it is called a grouped frequency distribution table. Thank you. Please visit examfear.com for free quality education. You can learn with a simple 4-step learning process wherein you can watch video lessons, you can ask your questions, you can refer notes, and you can take a free online test. We have content for class 6 to 12 on physics, chemistry, mathematics, and biology along with practical videos. So please subscribe to our channel for daily updates. Thank you.